Hi guys, James Elson here, Race Director at Centurion Running. This is a pre-race briefing for the 2021 North Downs Way 50. We're absolutely delighted to be getting this one away. It's felt like a very, very long time for this race. Massive thanks to all of you for sticking with us and waiting for this one to come around, but especially those of you who signed up in the middle part of 2019 to race initially in May 2020, then June 2020, then November 2020, and just getting hit for six every time, and the race just couldn't happen. So whilst we did get 5 races away in 2020, this was not one of those, and therefore some of you have been on the waiting list to get this started for nearly 2 years. Massive thanks to those of you who've persevered with that. This is the 10th edition of the race, so it's kind of special for us as well on that front. Not much has changed over the years. We've still got the same start, the same finish, within a few hundred yards anyway. This pre-race briefing replaces the one that would take place just prior to the start on Saturday morning. Obviously, we've still got a rolling start. So that is one of the key COVID protocols that we've still got to have in place, despite having reached this new phase of the roadmap out of lockdown just this Monday. I'm going to take you through the race from start to finish and talk about the different components of it so that you can fully sort of understand and visualize what's going to happen on race day. There's not very much expected of you because this race is a little simpler than the ones that have come before it, but nevertheless, there's a lot of information. Please stick with it through to the end. I know it's a lot to take in. I'll try and keep it as brief as possible. So to start with, one major thing that has been in place for a couple of years now on the website for this race, there are no crews allowed at any stage of the race, okay? So I know some of you are still a little surprised to see that. That's not a new rule. That's not a COVID rule. That has been in place since this race launched in 2019. So no crews anywhere at any time on the course, please. You'll need to therefore rely on our aid stations for all your supplies between the start and the finish. The aid stations will be chock full of anything and everything you could want to eat on the way. Obviously, plan to be self-sufficient. Take the nutrition that you think you're required to get through the race and then top up from the checkpoints as and when you need it. Obviously, the checkpoints are there for fluid, which you'll definitely need to top up with given the length of the race and how much you're going to be carrying from the start. Pre-race, we still need you to fill in the track and trace form, please. It's on the top of the email that this race briefing has been shared via. It'll take you 30 seconds. You must fill that in before you come to the event, please. When you arrive at the race, you'll need to come to Farnham Leisure Centre. Those of you who've done this race before will know that the actual start of the North Downs Way and of this race is about a 5 to 7 minute walk from that leisure centre. The reason you need to go to leisure centre is that you must collect your tracker before starting the race. So even though you've got your bib number and even though you might be ready to start, you still need to go to the leisure centre and collect your tracker. At the leisure centre, we'll be open from 5 until 8 a.m. You'll come in the front door. The coffee bar will be open. So if you want to buy a coffee or something to eat for breakfast from the leisure centre, they are available. You'll then come through the sports hall. You'll be given your tracker. You'll put your finish line bag in the sports hall, and then you can walk straight to the start and get underway. Please don't plan on hanging around for ages in the sports hall, getting changed, camping out there for quite a while. It should just be basically viewed as a corridor. So you come through the leisure centre, collect your tracker, drop your finish line bag and out, and the walk down to the start. Now, the walk to the start line itself will be marked. So it will get you straight away looking out for our race markings, which are these, our arrows, reflective strip in it, and red and white barrier tape. That's what we call confidence tape. You won't see these yet, but you will see them at the start, just where we are for the start line. The acorn symbol, which is the symbol of the national trails here in England. And we do not leave the North Downs Way at any time, so you'll be following that right through to the final turn off into the village and the finish. So you'll walk that 5 to 7 minutes down to us at the start. I will be there with another volunteer. You will pass by a timing beacon and we will get you set and off and running. There'll be no queue at the start. You'll just be able to walk straight up and get going straight away. We're anticipating about 300 of you start the race, which is a big field for this event, but obviously you're spread out over 2.5 hours from the start. Just to speak to that starting window, on this email that we've just sent you are the starting waves that we'd like you to try to stick to. There's no kind of mandatory policy. We're just asking you please to self-seed. The reason is, and the reason we still can't have a mass start, the checkpoints. The checkpoints at an ultra race like ours, where runners lean quite heavily on us for fluid and for supplies, runners take time to pass through them. If the faster runners start first, the spread down the course is greater and the possibility of having a queue at any of the early checkpoints is reduced or removed. So by starting in the bands that we've suggested, I'm not going to read them out here, but they're every sort of 30 to 45 minutes. If you try and self-seed, you'll help your fellow competitors and the volunteers and everybody have a smoother, safer race. So please try to stick to those. You'll still need the mandatory gear on you from the start. We've been kit checking 5 people at random, at least at every checkpoint at each event so far. If you do get stopped, please comply with the volunteers and show them your kit and off you go again. On down the course, just bear in mind that the North Downs Way trail, particularly at the moment, is very busy indeed in some places. There are obviously hot spots, Box Hill, Reigate Hill being 2 such places. There will be so many members of the general public out riding, walking, cycling, whatever. We must give way to the members of the public. We must be polite to them. We must show courtesy, maintain social distancing. The perception of this event being safe, from our point of view, is entirely there, but you are the stewards of this sport out on the trail. The comeback on us if runners are rude, don't observe social distancing, litter, barge through gates, cause an issue with any other trail users. The ramifications can be absolutely massive at the moment, even more so than usual. So please do everything you can to bite your tongue if you come across another trail user who hasn't given you space and hasn't been as polite. Smile, be polite, and run on. That would do us a massive favour. Checkpoints out on the course. I just want to speak to the process. You don't have to stop at any checkpoint because you've got a tracker that will give us your pinpoint location and show us everywhere the entire way you ran. You don't actually have to stop and go into any checkpoint. So if you don't need supplies, just run on past. That's absolutely fine. If you do need to stop at a checkpoint, you'll find a gatekeeper on the way in who'll have hand sanitizer on a post. You'll need to sanitize your hands before you come into the checkpoint. The volunteers will stand off. They will have supplies on the table for you, so single-serve packaged food and drinks to be able to help yourself. You'll then supply yourself, fill your bottles, take your food, sanitize your hands on the way out and proceed down the course. Now, we'd ask you please to be as quick as possible, more haste, less speed. Make sure you don't forget anything, but obviously be conscious of other runners that are waiting to come into the checkpoint. Because of social distancing, we have to make sure that that people obviously observe that in the queue in and don't come to one of the mini checkpoints before you've moved on out of it. You'll find at the first several checkpoints, there'll be at least 3 mini checkpoints. We really hope you don't have to queue. If you do, and it's just for a few minutes, please be patient. It's not going to make or break your race. It's highly unlikely to anyway. The volunteers will all have PPE. They'll have masks and nitrile gloves on. Please do the same. Please put your mask on when you come into the checkpoint. Even though it's outside, obviously you will be handling things that then other people are near. We try and guarantee social distancing, and it's been entirely possible, but just out of the perception of safety and making sure that we're doing everything we can to reduce the risk of transmission, please have your mask on when you come into the checkpoints, even though they're outside. The checkpoints are all in their usual places, with the exception of Reigate Hill, which you'll find comes very slightly sooner than Ray Lane car park, just a few hundred metres. Okay, so nothing to replan there. Just be aware, those of you that have run this race in the past as well, that the Box Hills checkpoint in the Stepping Stones car park is not in the Stepping Stones car park. It is at Dorking Wanderers Youth Football Club, which is directly opposite over the road. Okay, so again, it comes a few hundred metres shorter than you might be used to. Details are correct on the website. There's only one detour off of the regular route, and that is that we won't be using the stepping stones. Those of you familiar with Box Hill, mile 24, there's two routes over the River Mole there. There's the stepping stones and there's a little bridge around to the left-hand side, and we'll simply be taking you around that bridge. You're talking 30 seconds to a minute difference. Most of you who haven't run that section before will know nothing different. It's still the North Downs Way. There's two advertised routes on that section. We're staying clear of the stepping stones because of discussions with the National Trust. They would prefer that we didn't use them. Absolutely fine. So we'll be using the bridge to the left-hand side. There are no other course deviations to speak of. You will be on the North Downs Way for 50 miles. The final half a mile as you run into Knockout Pound Village is not on the North Downs Way. So you will pass along the back of a field and you will see the finish arch away to your left-hand side. From that point, you've got roughly a mile to go, a little bit less actually. You turn left onto the road and come down into the village, and then you'll turn left up to finish under the gantry. So get a spurt on for that bit. It's your big finish. There'll be markings and volunteers galore along that final section. You shouldn't be able to have any navigational issues whatsoever. Apart from looking for our markings, when you get to tricky junctions, especially in the fields in the last 10k or so, it's not always the biggest, widest track that is the North Downs Way. Look up and around you, you'll see waymark finger posts, you'll see our markings. Just make sure you're on course before you pursue a big, wide farm track that turns out not to be the North Downs Way. Okay. In terms of medical, we will have a full team out, obviously, catering for the event. If you have an issue, try to get to a checkpoint, and the medics will be in attendance within a quarter of an hour of you arriving at that checkpoint. If you can't get to a checkpoint or come across somebody who cannot get to a checkpoint because they're in serious trouble, please call the medical hotline. You've got the phone number on the email that we've sent out, and 999 if it's an emergency. First people to get there are the best people to deal with it, okay? If it's not an emergency and you can't get to the checkpoint, e.g. you've rolled your ankle, call our medics and they will come and assist you on the trail. The forecast for the weekend is mixed. I think we're likely to see showers and sun on and off throughout the day. That's the best forecast they can give us at the moment, and it's kind of what we've been having during this week leading up to the race here in the southeast. The wind is a tailwind, it's a gentle breeze, it shouldn't impact you, and the temperatures are really good, 9 to 13 degrees. So not too hot, not too cold. The worst you'll have is a little bit of rain on and off, and I don't anticipate any of you will have issues from that point of view. So no speaking to brutal conditions, please, at the end, unless the forecast changes substantially. In terms of getting lost, navigational issues, anything else that might happen, you have a Race HQ line, that's for me, call that and I will pick up. If you need to drop away from a checkpoint, you need to drop out of the race, it would be a surprise because you shouldn't or won't have crew out on course. So we will probably need to come pick you up in the sweeper minibus. Obviously, please try, if you need to stop, please try to stop at a checkpoint. We have a 92+% finish rate in our 50s anyway, so there's not many of you that this will be applying to. If you miss a cut-off, it's because you're moving slower than the average pace required to finish the whole race, so you simply will not finish the event. So if you miss a cut-off, please be polite to the volunteers. There will be another day for you to try again. It happens every event. And we will look after you. The sweeper minibus will be operating. They will bring you onto the finish. They operate socially distanced, so please have your mask on. You'll be given your own seat a metre apart from the other people in the bus, and the windows will be open and you will be brought to the finish. I think that's probably it in terms of the bits and pieces. I just wanted to come on to the finish itself and talk to you about the process there. So it's a slightly unusual finish in that the village hall, where the toilets and any indoor space is is about 500 metres walk from the finish line itself. And the finish line is up in a field. It's a lovely spot. You'll get hot food given to you up there. We'll be doing hot dogs, vegan sausages, dogs, that kind of thing. Food for everybody, hot drinks. You'll collect your awards up there, and your finish bag will be up there as well. So everything that you need at the finish, apart from the toilets, will be up in that field. If you need the loo, then you'll walk down to the village hall and use the facilities there. The parking at the finish for anyone picking you up is Cooling's Garden Centre. Now, there are 2 Cooling's Garden Centres. Make sure that you give the details of the one in Knockholt Pound to your crew, the people collecting you, friends and family, and not the one that's several miles away. If you're getting collected, they must park at Cooling's, right? Cooling's will be open until 9:30. Don't try and drive your car to Cooling's before the race and park it there and come back to it afterwards. Cooling's is not open 24/7. It's a closed car park. So you'll only be able to park there on the day itself. The car park will close at 9:15, just after the final cut-off. If you've left your car in there at 9:15, we can't be responsible for it. You'll have to go back and collect it when the garden centre is open. You'll check their regular opening hours for that. If you're thinking about parking in the village before the race, i.e. say Friday, and then leaving a car and then coming back to it so it's there at the end, please make sure you don't A, block anyone's drive, B, block anyone's road, C, leave it in any kind of area that's going to aggravate residents. It is a very small village. If 50, 60, 70 of you have that idea and all leave your cars in the village, they're not going to want us to come back. So if you want to do that, we understand. It makes sense logistically, but please be extremely sympathetic to the local residents, because the parish council will just say no to us in future if we bung up the village with cars the day before the race. So yeah, just be mindful of that. Please don't try to park in the village hall car park and leave it there the night before. The village hall car park takes about 25 vehicles and is there for other users. There is a library there are cricket matches there's tennis. Please don't leave your car there overnight, and please don't try and park too close to the finish, because you'll see it's a main road. Okay, finally, the shuttle bus back to the start will leave at 9 p.m. or just after, when we get the final finisher in. There are 24 of you on the bus. There are 48 seats, but we can only sell 24 of them because of social distancing. So 24 of you on the bus. The bus is sold out, I'm afraid. I know it's been frustrating for some of you, but it's nothing we can do about that. There's no way we would fit another coach. And they will leave at 9 o'clock and take you back to Farnham Leisure Centre. Okay, guys, there's obviously a lot there. There's a lot for me to remember as much as anything else. So if I've forgotten anything, I'll put it in the notes underneath this video. Please check there before you leave the page. We can't wait to see you Saturday morning and welcome all of you back to this event for the first time in 2 years. It is a massive, massive relief that we're able to do this. Thank you, everybody, and see you on Saturday.